What is up? All right. Okay. I was sick last week, so that's why I wasn't able to get a DSG report video out. But I am so excited to be back, and we've got a great episode. There's been so much that's happened between. I think the last time that I spoke to you guys, we had just lost the FlyQuest 2-1, and we were looking ahead to the Lion series. And then since then, we've had that series happen. We've had the Sentinels rematch happen, and now we're looking ahead to Team Liquid. So a lot to catch up on. I'm gonna get you all caught up, and we're gonna talk about it. So let's get started. DSG Report Episode 3. I'm Jonah. Let's go. All right. Okay. So a quick recap on just the last things that happened before I was out last week. Um, I said I thought Lion would be a little too much for us and we'd lose 2-1. And we actually didn't end up losing 2-1. We ended up winning 2-1. And I was really impressed with us from the series. I thought we looked solid. Honestly, I didn't think Lion looked their best, but I thought we looked great. Kryra looked amazing. My thumbnail, my clickbait thumbnail was uh, is he cooked? Is Carrera cooked? And by no means was he cooked. He looked entirely ready. His Mundo game was awesome. He looked like he wanted a style and everything like that. So 2-1 over Lion was an awesome series. I thought it gave me a lot of confidence. I wanted to see us beat one of Cloud9, FlyQuest, or Lion before I was like, okay, this team is legit. And we did. And so honestly, if we had gone into this most recent week, if I had gotten the chance to talk about like the Sentinel series last week after the Lion series, I would have told you I thought we were going to beat Sentinels 3-1 because I did not have a lot of faith in them. And I thought we were doing great. Now we know we can get into the Sentinel series now. Sentinel series now. Now we know that didn't happen because we ended up losing 3-2 to Sentinels. And I don't know if I'll attack this game by game or how exactly, but we can just talk about the whole series. Game one, I guess we'll start with game one because game one felt like a whole different series. I'm gonna say games 2 through 5 felt like some weird thing, and game one felt like a whole other thing. Game one felt like who I thought we were. We were just the better team, in my thought. In game one, we looked clinical. They couldn't play the game. We were running them around the map. All of the above was going on, and it was looking great. And I was like, this is exactly who I wanted us to be. This is exactly why I thought we would win about 3-1, something like that. All that in game one. It looked so great. I think um, Calmy was on the Akali. He looked awesome. I'm trying to remember. I mean, Kryra looked great. All of our guys were doing their thing. And so yeah, so after game one, I was really confident. Like, hey, this is our series. We're the better team. We're gonna make the America's Cup or whatever. Um, which I'm sad that we haven't made it yet. I'm so hopeful we can, but yeah. So that was game one, and I'm just trying to remember anything else specific about. I mean, it just looked so difficult. We looked like so much better. Um, and it felt like all the good things about us were showing up and all the questions for Sentinels were showing up. I mean, everybody was doing their role, like was playing their part well. So I don't know. I digress. That was a whole, it felt like a whole different thing. That individual game felt like a whole different, like it was a part of a whole different series than the rest of the series. And I say that because 2 through 5, honestly, even though we won one of the games, I did not feel like we did that well. Um, Even in the game we won, it was really difficult to win. It felt like in games 4 and 5, draft just felt so unplayable. Like the Vagar into the Ari, for an example, felt completely unplayable for Call Me, and he's really good. We've seen him be arguably the best, and but Darkwings was just looked like he had so much more to do, and it was just so much easier. All he had to do was place the cage. Call Me is just trapped in there, and then they had I don't remember what their jungler was, but it's just like insta kill. And then late game, Vagar's just like half HPing people with a single Q, and then just killing everybody with W's. It was crazy. So here, wait, let me look up Let me see. DSG versus Sentinels. So yeah, so honestly, it was a bit frustrating to see what I felt like was who we are in game 1 versus what I felt like was like some another team. It felt like another team in games 2 through 5. I thought that the Nasus pick was fun and inventive. If you got the chance to see it, uh, oh snap! If you got the chance to see it, I'm dropping my phone everywhere. Um, we picked Nasus. I believe it was in game 3, right? Yes, we picked Nasus with Ivern and Yone and Senna Nautilus. I'm looking at it right here, and it was great. I mean, uh, I from solo queue, I'm not playing League right now, but when I had been playing League, Nasus feels like a terror to play against in lane. And he looked great. I mean, Castle looked wonderful on it. It was a pop off game for him. He was just running around. There's that one shot of him running around, and he's just like cleavering the guy. When he's at 1 HP, he's cleavering him, and he's just doing like 500 HP, and it's just crazy. So, but that game, even that one, we were losing for. I'm trying to look at this gold graph. It felt like we were losing for quite a long time. I don't know how to look at a gold graph on this website. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so that was game 3, and that was after the game 2 game, where we had picked the Anivia and and we were playing the. Oh, okay. We'll get into why I felt like we lost the series in just a second, but we're just recapping still. So yeah, that one was the Anivia Blitzcrank. Against the Ashe Seraphine, and yeah, the Seraphine was just super strong. That was the first game where I felt like we kind of got draft diffed, and I guess that one isn't like a real true draft diff because the game is not unplayable, but at a certain point it just became really hard to play through the Seraphine, and that's what I think marked the series. To be completely honest, I mean I think Ido's a wonderful coach, so I don't necessarily think it was him. I don't know, maybe it was, but for me, over all these games, especially the ones we lost, games 2, 4, and 5, it just felt like the drafts that we played were so hard, like so difficult. Okay, yeah, it was the Vagar and the Vi. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, Vagar Vi, they're just trapped. Oh, Calmy got killed like instantly by he got like caught out by Vi Qs and just died in like 10 seconds, or not even 10 seconds, died in like 2 seconds, and he couldn't even play the game. Oh my gosh, that was such a frustrating game. And then in game 5, what did we do? Game 5 felt like, oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. Game 5 was the game where um, they got it. We played Sejuani, and they got like early activity into our jungle, and oh boy, they just ran over that game. It looked. I think our team actually did a pretty solid job, like our top side and even Sajid. I felt like they did a pretty solid job of fighting back, but like the deficit, even though Kryra was in such a big deficit early because they put him in such a bad position early on, he was just like just couldn't even farm. He just couldn't even farm, and it's just impossible to win a game when it's like a situation like that. And so yeah, ultimately, I think the games 2, 4, and 5 drafts were felt in some way they felt kind of unplayable. Um, I don't think they were terrible, and I think there was some nerves, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But ultimately, I would say I wish we had done some different things. Um, so yeah, so that's the overall feeling. Now, who do I feel like was the best player for us in this series? I thought Castle was good. I'm trying to think. Castle was pretty decent. Um, it felt like he. Oh, I guess in that one in his Jax game he wasn't that good. Nobody was really that good in that game before. In his Nasus game he was great. In the Renekton game he did a solid job, even if the team overall didn't look that good. I don't know. It's hard because my natural thoughts usually. Oh, his Mbessa game was great though. He looked really solid on the Mbessa game. Um, yeah, it's hard. I don't think anybody really sticks out as a player. Like I wouldn't have said like if we had won, I might have said Castle or Kryra. Maybe if Call Me has a pop off game, I might have said Call Me. I mean, you could have said Sajid for look at the winning performances because I mean Sajid just always does great in our wins. But yeah, to me, nobody really stuck out this series. Even if I think the weak link, unfortunately, you could tell it was just Lions. I mean, Lions had a really tough series. I was talking about that game 2 game where we picked Blitzcrank. He was genuinely invisible on the Blitzcrank. He had a really great game 1 on the Karma. Seemed like a good. Enchanters just seem really strong, but yeah, the Blitzcrank game after like he kind of had a good start, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be good because he looks like he can pilot the champion. He just kind of completely fell off and was completely useless, and we he couldn't hit a hook. He couldn't hit a hook. He couldn't like we weren't doing anything. Maybe the game is just difficult, and maybe it's like I was talking about the draft. It's just hard to play into them. But at the end of the game, of course, Blitzcrank is going to get outscaled by Seraphine, but he was definitely just even the time that he was useful, like or his time of being strong, he didn't feel like he was changing the game, and it felt like a big pick. And ultimately, I feel like this series was really hindered by Lion's performance. In game 2, he was rough on that. Game 3, his Nautilus, fine. I mean, it's Nautilus. You're gonna int some. You're gonna get some good opportunities if your team is winning. His Nami performance was not very inspired. I think that game was really lost by mid jungle because of that Vagar pick, so I can't blame him too hard on that. But then the game 5 performance, um, oh yeah, his Bard did not look nearly as good um, as it had in the past, which was really frustrating because he's looked like he's had a solid Bard before, but just not this game. Like it just wasn't a series, and I don't think you give up on anybody um, because of that. Um, I think that you take it into account, and maybe it speaks to like some stage nerves, some like playoff nerves. I think that might be what it could have been. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just one series. Of course, you really wanted to win the series because you qualify to America's Cup if you win it. But I think you don't like quit on Lions just yet or anything like that. You don't look for a replacement to improve. I think you just think, okay, this was a bad series. We'll see what we can do going forward. So yeah, um, that was all I'd say. I would say issues were draft. I didn't think we drafted too well, especially in the games we lost. Hindsight's 2020 though, so maybe if we'd won, I'd be like, oh my gosh, these drafts were amazing. Who knows? And then I think Lions had a pretty rough series, and yeah, I don't think Call Me looked as good as he had in the past either. Um, we might we might eventually have to talk about the champs he is able to play. Because Darkwings did look a little bit more versatile as the series went on. Uh, but I still think Comey's a great player. So, yeah. That's what leads to a 3-2 loss for DSG against Sentinels. Um, Takeaways are we still have things to improve on. We are not a perfect team. We knew that we weren't a perfect team. We knew we were trying to compete for top 3, top 4, top 5 even still. But it's a little bit more of a sobering series because I don't think Sentinels is that good. Now, maybe if Sentinels goes out and plays really well against Cloud9, then you might think, oh, hey, maybe they're just leveling up for playoffs, and we actually played better than, we didn't play worse. Because, hey, I'll give this to Golden Glue. Golden Glue, who is the coach of Sentinels, does have a track record of performing well in playoffs. So maybe it's just a playoff performing team. But ultimately, I don't think Sentinels is going to do very good into Cloud9. And actually, I did want to talk more about the league as a whole. I've been talking very DSG focused, and that's good because this is the DSG report. We are focused on DSG, but I do want to have a small section, maybe the last 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the episode, to talk about the league as a whole, predictions, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Um, Let me think. Anything else about last week? No. Okay. Next week we have Lion, or no, not Lion. I thought we were gonna have Lion, but we actually have TL. We have Team Liquid, and there's good and there's bad to this matchup. I think if you asked me about one team who I thought was just raw talent wise, the one you wouldn't want to play the most, I would probably say out of all the teams, I'd probably say Team Liquid, and that's including Cloud9, FlyQuest, Sentinels, Lion. I think the funny thing is the two most talented teams, or two of the three most talented teams, are in the bottom part of the bracket. I don't envy FlyQuest, and I don't envy us really, because if Team Liquid figures it out against us, it will be it will be difficult to beat them, even if I think we could play well against them. What we're banking on is that Team Liquid, even if they've gotten a little bit better, excuse me, even if they've gotten a little bit better, is still experiencing some of the same issues that they were these last few weeks, and they still don't know how to play a complete game. And we can use what I feel like is a pretty strong sense of how to play the game, because we are very dragons focused. We just want to take a dragon, then take the next dragon, and then take the third dragon, and then get the soul, and then win the game. That's how we want to play. And I like that. And Team Liquid still hasn't figured out how they want to win the game. And so if we can just have that, I think we'll win. Because I think Call Me is good enough to beat Quid. Quid has not looked as solid as he did last year. I think um, Sajed is a good enough team fighter and a good enough laner to go head to head with Yon. I do think Yon Core JJ is always a scary bot lane to play against. And I think Core JJ is definitely better than Lions, but I don't think it'll be a hindrance. I mean, Yon and Core JJ have been getting leads in bot lanes for the last few years, and there's been times where they get them and it doesn't matter, and they get them and it does matter. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried about whether or not they can get a lead. They're going to be able to get a lead probably. I think, but I think our guys are good enough to play later as the game goes on. In the top jungle, this is where I think we actually have our best. I actually like Kryra more than Jose. So far, I've really liked Kryra and the way he played. Even this last series, it felt like there were some really difficult drafts for him to play. I still thought he was effective. I still thought he did his job. I still thought he was a good game manager. So I think Jose looks talented, but I wouldn't favor him, to be honest. If you put Kryra on Team Liquid, I think they'd be better. And so, yeah, um, I like Kryra into Jose. And Castle is definitely good enough to go head up with Morgan. Castle has looked a lot better this week and last week, like in terms of just he's playing lane better. He's more effective in the games. In the first couple weeks, it felt like he was a little quiet. So I do think Morgan maybe is still a little bit more raw mechanically because he's straight from Korea as opposed to Castle, who's been here for a couple years. But I think Castle's plenty good, and he still looks solid. I think he's getting better as the split goes on, which is a good sign. So that all that to say, I think we're talented enough to beat them. I think so far, honestly, we've looked like a more cohesive team, just a better unit. Like we know what we want to do in the game, and I just haven't seen that from Team Liquid. The scary thing is, Team Liquid is the quality of players. Like they have a team with enough quality players that at any moment, if they wake up and they figured out how to play the game, they're a threat to win the league. You know, they're not just threatening us and Lion for the next couple rounds. They're threatening Cloud9 to win the league. So yeah, with all that said, I think I have to go us 3-2. I'm sad because every time I go us, we lose. I went with us against FlyQuest, we lost. It's the Jonah curse. I went with us against FlyQuest and we lost in the regular season. I went with us against Sentinels and we lost in the first round. I thought we were gonna lose the first series of the year against Sentinels and we won. I thought we were gonna lose against Lion and we won. So maybe I should just go Team Liquid 3-2 just to reverse the curse and get us to win. But if I had to choose based on who I actually think would win, I do think we are a quality team, and I think that they might be able to push us um, because they're just so talented. But I think we're good. We're good enough as a team, and we know how we want to play. I really like Kryra, Call Me, and Sajed, and Castle. And Lions is definitely a quality enough player to win this series. So I'm gonna go with us 3-2. Hopefully, I don't come here next week telling you how frustrated it was to watch us get outdrafted again. But yeah, if I had to think, what are the keys? I want to do keys to the win. Keys to the win. Get Kryra, help Kryra to have a solid, like an even or ahead early mid game. I think the one thing that sucked a lot is especially in game 5, Kryra was just put so far behind, and he's such a good player in my opinion. He's such a good player. You need to prioritize him, and so I think if we can get him to be in even states or better, I think I like I was saying earlier, I think he's better than Jose. So I could see us winning through Kryra this series for sure. The next thing is get Calmy on comfortable picks and things he knows. I was watching the Double If Medios sneaky Po Belter co-stream thing, and they were talking about how Koreans must just not know how to play into like odd North American champs, they call them, like Vagar, or like stupid things like, you know, like, or like Western would be like Nunu and Willem. You remember from the FlyQuest versus Genji series that the Genji player didn't even know how Nunu worked. And so I think that's why he had some struggles against Vagar. I don't know how many times he's played against Vagar in comp, and it looked like he didn't know exactly how to play the matchup, and that really punished us. And so, yeah, I think you get Call Me on comfortable matchups. Get him playing Azir into Syndra. Get him playing Talia into Vi. Or no, Talia into Ari. Get him playing like those, Rise into Anivia or stuff like that. Stuff that is more meta right now, he's probably played against. Shouldn't give him a lot of like surprises. And the good thing is, the longer he plays this year, the less surprises we'll get. So he should be better as the year goes on. And I thought Darkwings played well, but I think Quid has the potential to play better. Um, but he just hasn't played. I think Darkwings has played better than Quid this year so far, and so based on that, good for Call Me. Based on the fact that Quid's peak is like one of the like 3 or 4 best players in the league, not good for Call Me. So yeah, so that would be number one, get Kryra involved, make sure he's got what he needs to be effective in the mid game, early game. Don't set him behind. We want him to drive the game. So get Kryra involved. Number two is get Calmy on comfort. Help him to get to comfortable matchups and stuff that he knows how to play well. And he will carry. On Rise, he will carry. I think even if he played Ari into a regular matchup, he looked mechanically solid on Ari. On Ari, I feel like he can carry. On Azir, on Talia, on these kind of champs. And the last one I would say is play the meta in support. Don't We got a little too out there, I think, with the Blitzcrank, and I think even the Nasus a little bit. That did kind of take that one gave us a win, but like Nasus wasn't support, of course, but I think in general we started to get a little bit away from the things that we were more set in, things that don't make the game so crazy. Like the Blitzcrank, the game is shaped around Blitzcrank, and I don't think that we should be putting game defining picks in Lion's hands like Bard and Blitzcrank. I think he played Bard well once and even had a good Bard play in the game, but I don't know if I trust him. He's not your best player. He's just not our best player. I would trust Sajed, Kryra, Call Me, or Castle way more to have a game defining pick. Castle on a game defining Nasus pick won the game. Kryra on game defining. What was it? Um, did he play in game one? Yeah, he played the Nocturne in game one. Win, easy win. He looked great on it. Same with Call Me on the Akali in game one. Great. Sajin on his Kaisa always looks awesome. So these game defining picks, I feel like they need to go to your best players. And so I feel like we should be playing more meta stock standard stuff that will just support the team well, maybe a little bit more enchanters in that support role. And I feel like that would be good for our team as a whole. So yeah, so to me those are the three keys to win. I think if we did all three of these things, we will win the series. We might actually even win it more comfortably than the 3-2. Then you might be looking at a 3-1 unless Team Liquid plays really well, and then it's more of a competitive series. But so with all that, um, prediction, official prediction, DSG wins 3-2. And let me just say, who do I think will pop off the hardest? I think I think Kryra will be MVP of the series by the end of it. Yeah, I'm gonna say Kryra MVP, DSG 3-2. Okay, so that's everything. A recap of what happened in the past. I look forward to what's happening this week. But I want to talk about the whole league as a whole from my perspective as a DSG fan. Um, let's first talk about. I guess we'll talk about a little bit of last week and going into this week. First, C9. We'll start at the very top. C9 looks insane. They completely demolished FlyQuest. FlyQuest didn't look as good this week or last week, but it's because they're playing C9. And remember, this FlyQuest team beat us before before they went on to play Cloud9. And before that, they had beat what? Who'd they beat? Dignitas? Something like that. So yeah, something like that. So overall, I don't think FlyQuest are chumps. I think there's a chance they lose to Lion, but I don't think they're bad. I just think C9 looks really, really good. And if I had to pick a favorite, I actually have playoff predictions. I guess I should show them. I can like quickly go through them. So just so like they're there. I had C9 and DSG winning. I know it's like weird to see like a week after, but yeah. So I had C9 DSG winning, and then I had C9 beating DSG, and then I had um what else did I have? I had down in the lower bracket, I had Lion beating FlyQuest. I had Sentinels beating Team Liquid, and then I believe I had Lion beating Sentinels, and then DSG beating Lion, and then C9 beating DSG in the finals. So things are obviously not the same, and you might be like, "Wow, that was so biased of you. You're just a DSG fan." Hey, I think if we get one more good draft in this last series, if we pick something better for Lions in games 2 or 3 or games, I think is it 2 or 5, I think we can win the series. And then I think all the stuff that I was saying is still completely on. But yeah, so okay, so yeah, quick predictions. That was everything. But overall, yeah, C9 looks great. I think FlyQuest, unfortunately, I have a feeling they're gonna lose. Not because I think they're bad. I just think Lion or TL are due to make a run. And honestly, I have more faith in Lion because of Inspired. Um, that they'll make the run. I think Dokla's a good playoff performer. I think Inspired, obviously, Jungle King, he will probably be good in the playoffs. Berserker is a solid playoff performer as well. The only question is, will Saint still keep inting? Um, he hasn't been the sole issue by any means, but he has not been the level that he needs to be if they want to be as good as they want to be. So I I think Lion will beat FlyQuest, but it's not because I think FlyQuest's bad. I think Lion is going to level up a bit in playoffs, and then and if not Lion, I think TL. It's just one of them. In my mind, somebody always does better in playoffs than they were doing in the regular season, and it just has to be one of those teams because they're too talented. Both of those teams are too talented to not do better. I could very easily see both winning their series. But yeah. So then, what was that leave us? So that leaves us with this week's series, which are C9 Sentinels. Um, Spoiler alert: C9 I think is gonna run Sentinels. C9 Sentinels, Lion FlyQuest, and Team Liquid DSG. So I already gave you my prediction for Team Liquid DSG. Obviously, obviously we're repping the DSG 3-2. I think I was telling you Lion. I would say maybe 3-2, 3-1. I think if I'm not super duper duper sure that they'll win by a big margin, so I would say probably Lion 3-2. And then I probably thinking about C9 versus Sentinels. This is honestly to me the most like the one that with the biggest gap. I don't think I really still believe in Sentinels that hard. I believe in them more than I did last week, but I don't believe in them still super much. I think C9 is really good. So I think at most you might get C9 3-1 over Sentinels. I'm gonna go C9 3-0 because I really believe in the C9 team. I'm honestly super excited at the potential of seeing this C9 team at first stand. I think they look like the best team in the West, and I'm excited about the potential. I know Blabber has had some issues internationally, so I hope he can kind of overcome those demons with APA supporting him. So yeah, so that's my outlook in the picture at all, or picture as a whole for the LCS. If I had to pick, I think another good question is like, oh, who's been the best performing player all split? To me, it has to be a player on C9. Of course, they've looked awesome. And I don't think it's APR Sven. I think they both look great, but I don't think it's one of them. I guess it could be APA. He's won Player of the Week a couple times. I think Vulcan deserves Player of the Week too at some point. I'd have to say, if I had to vote for MVP right now, it would be between Vulcan and Blabber for me because they both look awesome, and it's so cool to see C9 be so good with three North American players. I mean, Blabber's American, APA's American, and Vulcan's Canadian. That's three NA players, and they're the best team in the league for sure over teams like, Sentinels, who I guess if Sentinels somehow found a way to win, I'd look so silly saying that, but over Sentinels, who has like four Koreans, and Darkwings, who has looked great by the way. Darkwings, note as for last series, I'm super impressed with Darkwings. I'm still so sad that he is not on our team. I think Calmy's been great, and I'm glad we have Calmy. Um, but I always love my NA guys who are just solid, and he looks like he's doing so well under Golden Glue. It's probably the best place for him to thrive. So yeah, hopefully we see him keep improving. I want him to stay in the league and more NA players to fill in. So we have tons of great NA players. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that is going on in the league? Mm, no, that's everything. Okay, so my picks are C9, Lion, and DSG, and that sets up a rematch, potentially for us and Lion, and then the gauntlet for us, DSG, would be Lion, Sentinels, and then C9 to try to win the split. Uh, I would give us about a 15% chance of actually making finals. I think I lost a little bit of faith in us, but if we win this week, if especially if we were to win convincingly, I can easily get right back on the train. Um, I don't have a high. I think this split is not a let's win the league split. I think this split is like let's make an international split. And I think we have a solid chance because all we have to do is beat Team Liquid and then beat Line, and then we've made Americas. Um, so we'll see. I still think we can. I think it's very possible. And yeah, so that's everything for me and the DSG report this week. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Let me know down in the comments, uh, what do you think about this most recent series? Did you think that we sold the bag? Did you think that you were like, oh, I thought Sentinels was better anyway, so I'm not that surprised? What'd you think about it? Are you surprised to see C9 be so good so early? I reported on them throughout the off season, and I had to like quell my excitement for them because I was hoping that they'd be really good because they have this three NA player core. I guess it's not a core because APA got added in, but you know what I mean. And out of the teams in the bottom bracket, in the losers bracket, who do you think is the most likely to make a run? If I had to guess, it's either us or Lion that are most likely to make a run. I think Team Liquid has some potential. Honestly, I don't, and that's me completely disregarding FlyQuest, who looked like the second best team for sure during the Swiss stage. So realistically, it's still anybody's game. A lot can happen in playoffs. You never know what's going to happen. So let me know down below, who do you have winning the whole thing. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next week. Hopefully back on Wednesday. We'll see. It'll be either on Wednesday or Thursday. But let's go DSG and let's get a win this weekend.